Welcome to Season 2 of Coffee with the Journalist, a podcast featuring the tech industry's most well-known tech journalists. We uncover the real person behind the stories you love to read. We discuss their beat and news coverage, what their inbox looks like, and a whole lot more. I'm Jared Martin, the co-founder and chief operations officer at OnePitch. Our host for the show is Beck Bamberger, the co-founder of OnePitch, CEO of BAM Communications, and a current journalist. On today's episode, we have David Ingram, tech reporter at NBC News. David gives us a personal look into how he writes his tech stories, his love for running and cycling, and how his inbox is inundated with pitches. Let's hear more from David and Beck on today's episode.
David Ingram has a knack for tirelessly digging through complicated stories we hear, David. This is what we've heard. Your focus is on technology and how, as you like to say it, it is currently changing the world. We need to identify and exactly explain that, but we will. That's why we're here. And other than your love for technology, you're a runner, you're a cyclist, you're a bluegrass enthusiast.
This is all true.
This is all true. This is on your Twitter too, so we know it's legit. It's true. It's on Twitter.
Everything on Twitter is true.
This is true. Yep. And as what we've heard, you're open to new ideas and topics and pitches in general. So we're going to see how you like to best get those pieces and pitches without annoying the hell out of you, which is what publicists can do.
No. Do they do that?
Yeah.
I am a little inundated with pitches, so...
Okay. We're going to talk about that.
We'll put that...
Actually, why don't we just start with that? Can you tell us about how your inbox looks, like on a day-to-day? And tell us, like, if you want, like at 6 a.m., what does it look like? 6 p.m., what does it look like? What does it look like on Sunday? Is it filled with pitches on Sunday?
It's filled all the time.
Okay.
I try to manage it the best I can. Some days are better than others.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, the number of pitches that I've gotten, and I think a lot of other tech reporters would say this, has really gotten out of hand for the amount of time we have and where tech journalism is going. I used to work for this editor. He's an excellent editor. This was back when I worked at the Charlotte Observer. He was a former White House reporter for the Wall Street Journal, and he used to say that if it's in a press release, it's by definition not news.
Oh.
Which that is probably not what a lot of people want to hear, but and I think that's a little extreme.
A bit, but I get it. I get it.
Yeah, I mean...
Because who else has that press release would be my question.
Exactly. And so much of journalism now is getting away from the commoditized news that, you know, the same story everyone has. No one wants to write that story. Frankly, no one wants to read or edit that story. So I think as journalists, we're all increasingly looking for the original stories based on original reporting. You know, that's the harder story to do for sure, but I think that's where the future of journalism, well, the past of journalism and the future of journalism is.
Is that via exclusives and via scoops that no one else is sending out, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge part of it. Those ideas can come internally or they can come externally, but having exclusives that's one of the main things that reporters are looking for.
So if you saw then in your inbox the subject line, exclusive, you're more apt to open that than press release, ... tech release, product.
It's hard for me to give advice about, you know, how to write that kind of thing because I've never been in that side of the business. And so it is difficult for me to say, like, here's what you should do. But going back to your original question, I mean, I think I currently have, I'll just say scores of unread emails that I hope to get
More than a dozen.
More than a dozen.
More than 100.
Yeah, more than 100.
Okay.
And I hope to get that down to a more manageable number by the end of tonight. But
Is that your routine too, to like get it to as close to zero as you can end of day, or how do you manage that?
A lot of it is, you scroll through your inbox and see, has my editor emailed me this morning? Is there another name that I recognize that has emailed me this morning? Email's tough because a lot of times I feel like, as a journalist, I could either do my work or I could read email. And right? The email is not work. The email is what's like stopping you from doing work. You know, for me, the work is interviewing people, researching a company or researching a question that I'm trying to solve for a story. preparing for interviews, the actual writing of stories. And email is none of those things. So
Yeah. But question. Is there a kernel of where the work could start ever in your inbox? In other words, a scoop, a little sprinkle, a little hint, a tip, a something, anything.
I mean, I wouldn't rule it out for sure. Yeah, and yes. I mean, there are a lot of times when I will open an email and say, oh, that could be the kernel of a story. Although usually I'll have 4 other stories I'm working on at the same time, and so I will save that email in a folder and come back to it later, or note it in a works in progress file or something.
So you do some filing of your emails to probably help the okay.
I do some filing. I'm not sure it helps, but, because the filing doesn't work unless you actually go back. I think every Microsoft Outlook user will tell you that the search function on Microsoft Outlook is not what we wish it were. So,
ooh, yeah.
I'm just tearing email apart right now. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. Have you ever had someone pitch you otherwise that's been effective? Do you like to get DMs? Do you like to get a text message? Is there any other way? Or is it still it's in the email?
I mean, if I'm going to get a pitch, I prefer it be by email. That's
what everyone says, yeah. Keeps it contained. Contain the virus. It's all there.
I wouldn't say that, but DMs, Twitter DMs or something, or LinkedIn messages are for... When I get those, I'm thinking, oh, this is someone at a company who wants to go outside official channels and tell me something they're not supposed to.
Oh.
Which is the vast majority. That is vastly more useful than most of the pitches I get.
Oh, so that's a signal for you of information that could be very ripe.
Yeah, and so when I open a Twitter DM and it's just a pitch...
You're pissed.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Noted, publicists. Okay, so then to calm the inbox down, do you have any pattern? Do you try to get it okay, when it's 8 o'clock at night, it better be to 0, or it's Friday afternoon, that thing is... Or do you just keep that thing running? I mean, I talk to some people, they're like, oh, there's 4,000 emails in there right now. I could tell you.
I don't have nearly that many unread emails, but I try not to stress about it. And
okay.
I think I used to stress about it and used to really want to have an inbox 0 or close to it. And again, it goes back to that's not the final product. The final, you measure yourself and others measure you by the stories you produce. Getting to inbox 0 doesn't help you with that directly.
Okay, so you're on the no inbox 0 camp.
Yeah, I'm in the don't stress about it camp. Stress about the important things.
The story.
Yeah.
The best story.
How am I going to get the CEO to talk to me, or how am I going to find a whistleblower who will expose the latest corruption in your favorite tech?
Oh, yes. So let's talk about that then. According to your LinkedIn, you're talking about and writing about for NBC News Digital, which you've been about a year and a half at currently.
Yeah.
Right? About the way Silicon Valley is, quote, changing the world. Very aspirational of you, Dave. What would you say to that? How do we define changing the world?
It's really hard to imagine what the world was like back before the internet, but it is so different in so many ways, right? The fact that we all have a high-powered computer in our pockets and bags that we can use to call up information from anywhere and access any number of services, whether it's banking or transportation or you name it. But, of course, it's broader than that. It's where we go to work. It is the homes we live in, the financial products we buy. And
you can't escape it, in my opinion. How are you not consumed in technology today?
Right. Well, and the hard questions there are often the personal questions. So the personal stories that users can tell about, for example, their addiction to different services, whether it's social media or phones themselves. It is privacy violations of people's faces being used to build facial recognition databases without their consent. It is the regulations that are under consideration and may be passed for online advertising, either in a political context or more broadly for how our data is collected and used by ad tech firms. It's all of those things, which is a little daunting.
Does any of it keep you up at night?
I sleep pretty well at night, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I sleep
okay.
pretty well.
You don't stress about the inbox. You don't stress about tech.
I mean, I definitely stress about stories that I'm working on, and am I making the progress that I want to make? I'm always looking for ways to be more productive with my time. And if I feel like I'm behind, then that might keep me up at night. But it's not usually the email or the little things, I hope.
Or the possible tech that's looking at your face and analyzing how your children are going to look.
I don't have children, so that
there you go.
does
Cross that
help.
off.
So
okay.
I think part of us, who've thought about it, have come to a sort of uncomfortable understanding that, barring a major change in the law, that there's only so much we can do to protect our privacy. And that's not to say that the principle isn't important and that we shouldn't stop fighting on behalf of our privacy. But, when you are, for me, when I'm reporting a story and I'm on the road and I need to file using my laptop and I need a Wi-Fi network, for whatever reason I can't use my phone, I'm not really supposed to use those
free hotspots.
I look for the ones that don't say, like, FBI van.
Yeah.
And, certain Wi-Fi hotspots I trust more than others. But, like, that's an example of where, you're giving up a little bit of security and privacy by signing into a Wi-Fi network. I immediately sign into my VPN, though. So that helps. But still, we all make, I think, little compromises, even when we're aware of the privacy implications for the sake of convenience. And until we have a stronger regulatory legal regime in place that can
actually control it.
Yeah, that we can use as leverage, then that will probably continue to happen.
Talk to us about how you actually come up and create and then publish a story, because I think this is little talked about in just with journalists of how do you actually write a story? Where does it start from? So, like, okay, you got a pitch. Let's say you heard a little tip. What happens then? How long does this take? I know some investigative stories can be months and months in the works.
Yeah.
But what's a typical one for you, and how long is that actually taking?
It's hard to generalize, but because I also do, I think, all kinds of different kinds of stories.
You cover everything from Apple, social media.
Yeah, I mean,
cars.
And also, I do breaking news stories, where something will happen and, let's say the California Attorney General is announcing a lawsuit. I was an old Wire reporter, so I will, get 2 to 4 paragraphs to my editor as quickly as possible. We'll get a story up and then we'll build it out over time. There's a sort of breaking news drill to that. There are longer investigations that take months and months. And then there are sort of in-between stories where you want to spend a couple days, maybe a week or two, reporting probably that story that you just, that you get an idea and then you want to move on it pretty quickly. And that's, I don't think there's really a secret to it. You drop a list of people you want to talk to, either specific people or categories. And actually, I've had the same routine since college.
Oh, let's break down this routine.
So I was a reporter in college. This is probably a little embarrassing, but actually,
who cares? Let's talk about it.
It worked for me back then, and it still works for me. I just write down a whole list of questions that I want to have answered by the end of my reporting.
Okay, and you're not done with the report until you got all those answers, right?
I mean, it's
more or less.
Well, yeah, more or less.
And then do you physically write down, like, is this happening on a notebook piece of paper, or this is like...
I usually use my laptop.
Okay. And then the names, so then you make a list also for that.
And I make a list of the names of people I want to talk to.
Okay. You go down the list.
I go down the list.
Damn, and crossing them out.
It's a little methodical, I guess.
Is it in order of importance? Or is it just these 10 people, all these 10, same equal distance? Or is it, okay, I got to talk to 1 and 2 first before I get to number 10?
It's in the order of when they come to mind. As I'm brainstorming, either alone or with a colleague or with an editor, who do I want to talk to for a story, I will write down names of people and categories.
And then how do you go after those people? Cyberstalk them?
Well, everyone talks
Look and
to NBC
see.
News. So.
This is true. So you pull that card, you hit them up and say, hey.
I call them on their cell phone, and they...
You call them on their cell phone?
They speak to me immediately. No,
I was going to say, I was like, damn, this is good privacy information.
It depends who it is. I mean, there are some people I speak to regularly who are regular sources that I can call or text.
How do you become a regular source on your list? Good, viable information? Always delivered?
Yeah, that's a good way.
Okay.
Things that other people don't know. Things that they're not supposed to tell me, but they do anyway.
Oh. Juicy. How many of those people do you have? Dozens?
No comment.
Okay, no comment. Okay. We don't know who's on the list of Dave's. Okay. All right, so you got your sleuths, you got your people, and you dig up the rest. Do you usually get blocked by PR people, or do they usually swoop in?
It sometimes happens, yeah, especially if I'm contacting company employees outside the official channels. Which everyone knows happens, and
Yes.
everyone knows sometimes you get sent to...
You get shoveled over to the PR people. Oh. So when that happens, how do you feel? You're like, shit.
I don't take it personally.
Okay.
I mean, they're doing their job. As long as they understand I'm doing my job as well. I mean, there have been a couple times where I was like, I think this person's really going to talk to me.
And they got swooped.
And yeah, so I'm thinking of this one case in particular. I won't say the person or anything, but this is someone I talked to before for stories. Had been helpful. I sent them a message and said I wanted to talk about this subject. And they said, I'm not the right person, but I think I know someone who can help you out.
Okay.
And I said, fantastic. Forward all my information or I can call them, whatever you think is best. So maybe an hour or so later, I get a email from the PR people.
Oh, no. Oh, that's who they meant?
Yeah, that's who they
meant.
Oh,
God. Lame.
And
Lame.
they were not helpful. So
yeah.
it was yeah. My expectations were raised and then crushed.
Damn. And that happened you're thinking of one case. Someone's like, hey, I got somebody for you. I got somebody for you. It's the PR.
It's the PR people. Thanks.
Wow, they're crossed off that list now.
Yeah.
Crap.
Yeah,
Okay.
They kind of are.
What are you reading right now? What books, what do you consume?
One of my goals for 2019 was to read more books, and I've pretty much failed on that front.
Damn. Okay.
I love books, but it has recently been hard to find time.
What would you aspirationally like to read?
I like to read more novels.
Okay.
I get a lot of tech related books that I will read parts of, or sometimes all of them. I've got a novel sitting on my sofa right now that is barely begun.
Which one would you say?
Cryptonomicon by Neil Stephenson.
Okay.
I've read
sci-fi.
It's sci-fi.
Love sci-fi. Great.
I'm fairly new to sci-fi. I've really, some people get into it when they're really young and.
I was reading Michael Crichton from early days.
Oh, yeah.
Original Jurassic Park.
Actually, I think I've read.
Oh my God.
All the Michael Crichton.
Airframe. That's my favorite.
Back in the day, Andromeda Strain and all the.
That is sci-fi, Dave. Come on.
That is sci-fi.
Come on.
But I feel like he was a crossover hit.
He was because
of Jurassic Park.
Yes, and it wasn't like extraterrestrial, always in space. I think people think of sci-fi in that dimension sometimes of like, oh my gosh, it's interplanetary war. And I'm like, no. That is just one specific field in the sci-fi genre.
Yes.
Yes. Anyway.
So, at some point a few years ago, this friend of mine gave me another Neil Stephenson book to read because he thought it would be relevant to tech reporting. This was Seven Eves, if you've read it.
I have heard of that. And did you like it? Did you love it?
I really did. I loved it. Yeah. So
I haven't read that, but I know that that's quite a popular one.
I decided I was going to read a lot more Neil Stephenson and it sort of got interrupted along the way. But
okay. More sci-fi in 2020?
I think so.
Okay.
It seems like a good year for sci-fi.
It does, because it's merging to actual real.
Well, I think we all need a little escapism from time to time.
Yeah.
And actually, I think there is a connection there. I think sci-fi is popular in the tech community, and it's funny. Actually, Neil Stephenson used to work at Jeff Bezos' space company, and you can kind of
coincidence.
See, there's just some of the images that come out of, is it Blue Origin, the name of it? The images that come out of their ideas for space exploration and living, seem very similar to things that were in 70s, for example.
Exactly. That's why I love.
That's the inside story.
That is the inside story, but that's why, you have sci-fi, but then I think the reason techies love it so much is there's a line that can be blurred when it comes actual nonfiction. That's kind of the world where we try to live in, is like, ooh, these fanciful ideas, the things that couldn't exist, actually then do exist because of technology and innovation and all these things.
And the science isn't so unbelievable.
Exactly.
Like, a lot of it is there. It's just a matter of, can it be done at scale? And,
I like your sci-fi aspirations, Dave.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to play a little word association game. So I'm going to give you one word, and then you're going to tell me immediately the first word that comes to your mind. Are you ready? There's like 12 words.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. First word, food.
Drinks. Sorry,
Next.
That was a This is a warm-up.
This is the warm-up. Okay. The next one is drink.
I mean, the first food, but...
That's crappy. Okay. Let's keep going. Hobby.
Running.
Book.
Neil Stevenson.
Marathon.
Finisher.
Okay. How about fake news?
Trump.
Apple.
Pear.
Facebook.
Twitter.
Disrupt.
Ugh.
Yeah, we'll use that. High tech.
I wish.
Journalism.
Sources.
Pitch.
Email.
Inbox.
Full.
Okay, that is the conclusion of our wordplay.
Okay.
That was pretty good. Funny you said, well, not maybe funny, but Pear to Apple. Usually people will say iPhone or iPods, that Apple, but no, okay.
Or the Beatles. Too.
Or the Beatle, ooh, stretch, but I can see that.
You think
Yeah,
so?
I think so.
I just
think so.
randomly was recently reading up about the old litigation history between Apple Computer and the Beatles.
And? Yeah.
I've forgotten that whole story, but it's just kind of, it's one of those weird, like, where Apple Computer and the Beatles were like suing each other for like decades. It's all very strange in retrospect.
Can I tell you, I'm trying to have a moment here of understanding how they even crossed over in the same decade.
In like the 60s, the Beatles set up their own company to handle their recordings and concert revenue or probably post-concert revenue, but all their business. It was called Apple. It was called
really?
Apple Corp as a pun.
Oh.
And, whatever, like 3 years later or something, Steve Jobs and crew and Steve Wozniak come along and they create Apple Computer, now known as Apple Inc. And I forget exactly when the litigation began, but it was either in the 70s or 80s, I think. And it came to some sort of settlement that it would, they could both coexist as long as Apple Computer didn't get into the music business, which...
Oh, well, that went out the door.
And then there was more litigation.
Wow, this is a good little piece of history in the tech world.
It's an odd little, piece of history. But, like, IP litigation is not the sexiest topic, but when it involves the Beatles and what is now the world's largest company, or one or two, that's pretty interesting.
Oh, fascinating. Ooh, now we learned a little bit. So you could have said Beatles to that answer, yeah. Okay, now, bigger question. Yep. What is the future of journalism? Are you bullish? Are you bearish? What do we have?
It's going to be different for sure. I hate to say it, but I'm bearish on many parts of journalism, or not journalism itself, but the media in terms of the economic model. Because, so I used to work in newspapers, daily newspapers in North Carolina. They aren't doing well economically. I mean, I worked for a newspaper owned by McClatchy, which is a publicly traded newspaper chain that has said that they're going to run out of cash in 2020, and they need to look at other options. And they're, as we see like Facebook and Google's revenue growing year over year by 20-ish%, McClatchy, my old employer, it's losing money. Its revenue is going down year over year. And then you have places like NBC Universal, NBC News, which actually is a fantastic place for a lot of us to be right now. There are a lot of former newspaper people. I'm bullish on NBC News. I think our company has the backing to produce great journalism for years to come in the foreseeable future. But the broader ecosystem, I'm just worried about
Yeah.
You know, like if newspapers are like people are forgetting even what newspapers are.
I still read the newspaper every day, by the way. Just
In print.
Wall Street Journal, yep, back to back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Journal's a great paper. I mean, there are several great national papers now, but like, what about our local papers? What is the future?
Yeah, no.
Of those? And you know, a lot of national outlets, including NBC, we're doing quite well, and I think we'll continue to do quite well. But local news, when you asked your question, my mind first went to local news, and I'm more than a little worried about the future of that.
Understandably.
And I, frankly, don't know what the answer is. Yeah, you can raise only so much money from subscriptions, given the price point you could really charge. And the advertising revenue is not there.
Damn.
Sorry.
Well, I guess you're not going back. No, hey, I guess you're not going back to a local paper.
Never say never.
Okay.
It does help when billionaires decide to spend their money on newspapers.
That's true.
So that's happened in LA. It's happened in Washington, D.C. It hasn't happened in San Francisco yet, but
Seems like a ripe town for that to happen in.
it does.
Yes.
It does. I mean, so will newspaper chains even exist in 5 years, or will they get broken up and each local newspaper is owned by a local wealthy person?
Yeah,
Not exactly
maybe.
the ideal situation necessarily, but
Maybe one vertical.
yeah,
Or one way.
philanthropy.
Yes. Okay, we're going to go now into a hopefully fun ending point here. So I'm going to give you, have you ever played Mad Libs?
Yeah. it's been
Okay,
years.
so it's going to be like that,
I've
but
played
it's
that a
going to
lot
be
as
a
a
journalist one. Okay, you're going to love this. You're going to love this. So first thing, I'm going to give you what we need to say. Okay, first thing is catchphrase. What's a catchphrase?
Catchphrase: building a bridge to the 21st century.
Okay.
How's that for an oldie?
That's good. Yeah. Who used that?
That was Bill. That was somebody's campaign theme.
It was?
90s. Was that Bill Clinton in 96?
Damn, maybe that was
Bill Clinton's 1996 campaign motto.
lame. Okay.
He won.
I mean, yeah, something worked. Okay. Something that makes journalists cringe.
Bad pitches.
Bad pitches, yes. How about an, quote, empowering PR or journalism buzzword?
Artificial intelligence.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. Okay. Adjective.
Bland.
Oh, okay. Bland. I kind of always like the word bland. I wish it had a sexier definition. Anyway, part of a pitch.
The headline.
Headline. Another adjective.
Colorful.
Colorful. Good. And then another part of a pitch.
Phone number.
Ooh, okay. Ooh, this will be interesting. Amount of time.
72 hours.
Okay, 72 hours. Plural noun.
Horses.
Horses.
I'm doing the
I love it.
first thing that comes to your
No, I love it. That's how you, yeah. Emotion.
happiness.
Happiness. Oh, I love this. Horses and happiness, Dave. Topic.
North Carolina politics.
Oh, what?
That was my first real.
Okay.
Beat as a reporter.
Hey, all right. North Carolina politics.
They're really fascinating. But
Okay. Verb ing. So like jumping.
spilling.
And then a verb without the ing. Like run.
Cycle.
Cycle. Okay. Are you ready? I'm going to read it back to you.
Yes.
Here we go.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Am I allowed to laugh?
Oh, yeah. No, please allow all laughter to happen. Okay. Here it is. To me, tech journalism is building a bridge to the 21st century. It consists of bad pitches and AI on the daily. If a pitch has a bland headline, I will absolutely respond to it. However, if a pitch has a colorful phone number, you can expect no reply from me. No 777 or whatever those 666 numbers. Okay. If 72 hours goes by and you don't see an email back from me, you can assume that I am not happy about it. The best stories always have horses and are usually about North Carolina politics. The best way to reach me is spilling it to me, but you can also cycle to me. Okay, get creative out there.
I have a new LinkedIn bio.
Perfect. I love it. Well, thank you, Dave. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Coffee with the Journalist featuring David Ingram from NBC News. The goal of our show is to give you an in-depth look into the tech industry's most well-known and coveted journalists, and we hope you found today's episode insightful. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our show on iTunes, Spotify, and everywhere else you enjoy listening to podcasts. We'll see you next week with an all-new guest and even more insights. Until then, let's quit bitching about pitching and start great stories.